As expected, Blue Jays fans have flooded the All-Star polls, and it's impacting one Mariner in particular. Let's talk about it here on Locked On Mariners podcast. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Locked On Mariners podcast, brought to you by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. It is Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, and thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. I am your host, Ty Gonzalez, joined as always by my co-host, Colby Patno. We cover the Mariners over at InsideTheMariners.com for Fan Nation over on the Sports Illustrated Network. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter at LO_Mariners. Follow Inside the Mariners at Inside Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez, that's TANE, GNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. Be sure to also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Control the Zone. We post 2 additional podcasts on there every single week. And if this is your first time joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, welcome to the show. If you like what you hear, give us a follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to this. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. So we're going to be talking about tonight's series that starts between the Seattle Mariners and the Oakland Athletics down in Oakland. It's the Mariners' first trip down to Oakland, believe it or not, this season, this late into the season. We're also going to be talking about Dylan Moore, who, despite a certain co-host of mine's feelings about Dylan Moore, might actually have some trade value. At least that's what the numbers seem to potentially indicate. Nice. I just noticed what you did, by the way. I caught the end of that. I'm switching over. But first, we're going to be talking about the All-Star ballot. We have the first results from the All-Star ballot. And as we predicted when we talked about the voting opening, Blue Jay fans have flooded the polls, and unfortunately that is impacting one Mariner in particular, talking about Ty France, who is unfortunately behind Vladimir Guerrero Jr. right now in first base voting. Again, this is for the starting lineup of the American League All-Star team. Vlad has 947,000 votes right now, and Ty France is pretty far behind him in second place with 596,000 votes. And this just goes to show you that, this is the power of having pretty much an entire country voting for one team in particular. And trust me, there are a lot of folks on Twitter that I've seen that are strictly voting all Blue Jays. And it's let's just be real about it. I love Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I think he's a great player. I love watching him play. I've been up here in Toronto for quite some time, and I've watched him since he started. Totally fine with him, being marketed in such a way where he is at the top of All-Star voting, consistently, because he is that good, but he hasn't been good enough to start in the All-Star game. He has not been anywhere close to what Ty France has been this year. And it's a shame that ultimately the fan vote has such an impact, such an influence over who starts in these All-Star games, that it's a possibility here that Ty France, who even despite his struggles as of late has probably been the best first baseman in the American League in 2022, might not even get an All-Star start out of it. Which, for me personally, I don't really care about the All-Star game. Colby, I know you don't really care much about the All-Star game either, but for the players it does matter, and it also means money, benefits, all these kinds of things that do matter to the player. So yeah, it's really unfortunate if he's not going to be able to make up some ground here, and Vlad ends up getting the start over him in the All-Star game, right?
Things where it's stupid that, to be honest, that we let fans dig starts All-Star games, because like you said, there are incentives that are based on All-Star game appearances. There are awards that are handed out based on All-Star game appearances. There are, players whose Hall of Fame resume gets stuffed or deflated because of All-Star game appearances. And all these things are stupid and arbitrary, but they do carry monetary value to these players. So allowing fans to tell people that, Vlad Guerrero Jr. is better than Ty France, not only is that incorrect, at least this year, it could, in theory, hurt a player like Ty France, who, when he goes into arbitration, is may or may not be able to say, well, I was an all-star this year. And those type of things still, unfortunately, do matter for players, pocket for the most part. So it's a stupid system, but that's the reality of it. And the fact that Ty might not get voted in because of that is dumb. Now, he's pretty heavily ahead of the number 3 guy. So in the top 2 at each position automatically make the all-star team. So he's probably going to make the all-star team still. You still need to go out and vote for him if you really care about this type of stuff. But he's very likely to make the all-star team regardless. It's just he deserves to start, and it just doesn't seem like there's any shot of that just because, one fan base is delusionally misguided about what it means to vote for all-stars.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, we've seen this in other sports as well, particularly in the NBA, right? There's been times where NBA voting and, they've worked around it. There's never come to a point here where like these players have actually gotten in, but there's been, meme votes in the past. I remember one year like Zaza Pachulia was 3rd in all-star voting for a while. And it's just, it's kind of a joke, and it doesn't, and especially if they're going to end up working around that in the end, it just kind of feels like voting in general is pointless.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, and I would assume like, all right, let's say that we get through this whole voting process and guys like Matt Chapman are making the all-star team or leading in voting right now. Like Bo Bichette is ahead of Tim Anderson, Xander Bogaerts, Jeremy Pena in shortstop voting.
Crawford.
Yeah, JP Crawford. That's ridiculous. Like, so, I'm sure MLB would step in at that point and say, okay, like this is too much. This is overkill. But at that point, then it kind of just feels like the fan vote in general is kind of worthless. So I don't know. It just kind of feels like this is a broken system that should be ultimately abolished, or something that at least has less impact. Like maybe it has like 50% of the impact on like who makes the starting lineup, and like the other 50% goes into the coaches and the players, what they vote. I don't know, some like that.
To me it should be like 33% fan vote, 33% players, and like 33% front office / coaching, something like that. And that's also where just quick aside, I think that they should change the Hall of Fame voting to something similar where, yes, the writers get their vote, but players from the era also get a vote, and so do the broadcasters of the era. Because who knows better about whether or not Edgar Martinez is worthy of the Hall of Fame than the guys who actually had to pitch to him. Because it's certainly not, John Heyman and Bob Nightingale, So, like, why are those two qualified to tell people who's a Hall of Famer, but somebody like Pedro Martinez isn't? Like, get out of here. So, yeah, the Major League Baseball, they have a lot of bigger issues that we should worry about, but this is still one of the more annoying ones that, fans have a direct course of action to change. So,
yeah,
in terms of like the grossness of Major League Baseball, this doesn't even crack like the top 100, but it's clearly a flawed system.
Yeah. And I mean, like, let's dive in a little deeper here into the results so far through the first wave of voting. And you can see just how out of whack the whole system is. Tom Murphy is 7th in catcher voting right now. Tom Murphy hasn't played in forever and a day. And he's ahead of guys like Jonah Heim, who right now producing.
Very good year.
Yeah. JP Crawford, as we mentioned earlier, 8th in shortstop voting right now. He is behind guys like Corey Seager, Carlos Correa, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa.
I believe Crawford has the 3rd highest F4 in baseball for shortstops.
And yeah, so, I don't have much of an issue of him being behind, guys like Xander Bogaerts and Jeremy Pena, but yeah, not Boba Fett, not Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. He's been significantly better than those guys. And that's not even me being biased. That's just, we're just being real about this, right? Like, he's definitively been better than those players. Matt Chapman right now, who's been not very good for the Blue Jays, is third. He's ahead of guys like DJ LeMahieu, Alex Bregman. For some reason, Anthony Rendon is sixth. Eugenio Suarez is all the way down in eighth. I don't know if Eugenio Suarez is an all-star this year. I wouldn't go as far as to say that, but he is certainly better than the eighth best third baseman in the American League right now.
Certainly better than Chapman. He's more deserving than Chapman.
Yeah. Adam Frazier, despite his bad month and a half, however long it's been, is also eighth in second base voting right now. It does. None of this
Kyle
makes
Lewis.
a ton of sense.
Kyle Lewis is in the top 10 for the DH position.
Yeah.
Kyle Lewis has played 4 games this year, I think.
Yes, yeah.
So
he's ahead of Franmil Reyes on here. They only show the top 10 for each position except for outfield. They show 20 there, but yeah.
But he shouldn't be top 10 in anything.
No, yeah.
Yeah, All-Star game voting is rigged. It's stupid. I hope they get rid of it. I really do. We'll see. I doubt they do because people talk about it. Schmucks like us talk about it, and that's good for Major League Baseball.
Sure.
It's too bad they don't carry that same attitude over to people actually watching the games, but, whatever. Like I said, on the scale of issues with Major League Baseball, this one is near the bottom, but still, it's stupid.
Yeah, no, it's really dumb. It's really dumb. Just seeing these results before we hopped on the air, I had some thoughts about that, and it's bad. It's just a flawed system. It's you can have fans still be involved in the voting process, but not to this degree. You can have it still impact, but not fully, not to the point where guys who are just not only undeserving of the starting lineup, but just undeserving of the honor in general for the All-Star team. And that's not a personal knock on anyone, by the way. That's just straight up they just haven't produced, relative to their peers there. And so, guys like JP Crawford shouldn't be eighth in shortstop voting. Just shouldn't be happening. Just isn't the case. Kyle Lewis shouldn't be in the top 10. He's only played 4 games. That's ridiculous. So, we're going to be talking about Dylan Moore, who, if you guys like Fangraphs War, really any war, B War, F War, doesn't matter. He's actually graded out pretty well this year, and it's a little confusing, especially when you see the guys that he is graded higher than this season. So could the Mariners use that and more or less gaslight a team into giving them something useful for him this summer? We're going to be talking about that in just a moment. But real quick, once again, this episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning like, is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. So why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? For example, a Honda Odyssey fuel pump is $353 from a chain store, whereas with Rock Auto, it's only $216. Plus, Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and their prices are reliably low for every customer. So go to rockauto.com right after you're done listening to us and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in there How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. You're listening to Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. And one live NBA draft show is not enough for the Locked On Podcast Network. So the entire NBA channel is going live on NBA Draft Night. So if you have a favorite team, make sure you subscribe now to their Locked On YouTube channel so you get notified when they go live on NBA Draft Night. So Colby, during our recording session yesterday for our Patreon show, for our show exclusive to tier 2s and 3s, we're talking about some trade candidates, some guys that the Mariners can circle back on, and that kind of had me looking at their Fangraphs page in general, because we're also at a point now where we should probably be looking at guys that they could potentially trade away. They're 10 games under 500 at this point. There's a very strong possibility that they're going to end up selling a little bit at the trade deadline in about a month and a half. So looking at the Fangraphs page, just kind of getting reacquainted with how everyone's doing, and I noticed Dylan Moore has an F4 of 1.1, and this isn't just Fangraphs favoring him, by the way. You go to B-War, you go to Baseball Reference, 0.9 B-War over there, so pretty much in the same spot. And Colby, if anyone that has listened to this show is listening right now, knows that you don't like Dylan Moore very much, and I'm not a huge fan of Dylan Moore either. I don't necessarily hate him as a certain someone that might be on the show, but I definitely don't think that he is, or he has been, incredibly useful this season. I thought he regressed defensively, but defensive run saves say otherwise. Apparently he's +4 in right field. And, he's walking a little bit right now. He's stolen some bases. And so, when you think about it, it's not crazy that he would have a positive F4, but 1.1 feels like a lot, especially when you listen to the names that he's ahead of right now. We're talking guys like Starling Marte, Ozzy Albies, or at least he's in line with some of these guys. This is guys that have the same amount of F4 or fewer F4 or less F4 than Dylan Moore has right now. So Starling Marte, Ozzy Albies, Rhys Hoskins, Matt Chapman, Trey Mancini, Andrew Benintendi, Will Smith, Josh Donaldson, Shohei Ohtani as a hitter, just purely as a hitter, not as a pitcher as well. Cody Bellinger, Marcus Semien, Brian Reynolds, Christian Yelich, Randy Arozarena, just to name a few. That's pretty wild. So my question to you, as it was on yesterday's Patreon show, is can the Mariners actually convince a team to give them something useful for Dylan Moore?
I hope so, because he's not that good. I don't know how many different ways I can say this. The guy is a subpar Major League Baseball player, but if you ask Fangraphs WAR metrics, he's basically a starter. In fact, by that Fangraphs WAR metrics, he is on pace to be roughly a 3-win player, which I think anybody who watches baseball and has a brain understands Dylan Moore is not worth 3 wins. So if the Mariners are able to finesse somebody into thinking Dylan Moore is a useful player to a good team, then, more power to him. But I'm going to say no, because I don't believe teams are that stupid, except for the Padres. So maybe.
Well, so that's what I was going to say, right? The Padres right now are in an interesting position. Fernando Tatis Jr. has suffered setbacks. He's still not back. Jake Cronenworth is playing shortstop right now. They also could probably use some help in a corner outfield spot right now. They've been really good so far this season, but they're going to need reinforcements to help them get over the hump here. Could Jerry Dipoto do what he's done so many times in the past? Call up his good old buddy AJ Preller and have a nice annual fleece of the San Diego Padres. And what do you think the Padres would actually be willing to give for Dylan Moore? If they are stupid.
Joe Musgrove. I don't know. They're pretty dumb. So, I mean, for the love of God, they traded an all-star and, top 100 prospect and, a viable backup catcher and a decent relief prospect for average backup catcher, more or less. They're not that bright. They traded, a potential number 3 starter or ace closer for a middle reliever who they cut a week later. So they're not that smart. So maybe you can get Fernando Tatis Jr. I don't know. So I don't know. I don't think that he being AJ Preller is that stupid. But I mean, the Ty France trade does exist.
Yeah. So what you're saying is there is a chance that they could get Robert Hassel for Dylan Moore, right?
I mean, only because it's the Padres. But no, it's. I mean, I just don't see it. The Padres have some catcher depth, but like you're not going to trade Dylan Moore for Alfaro because you're just gonna if you're selling right in theory, then you're just gonna roll with Cal Raleigh and Luis Torrens. Is Alfaro better than those two guys? No, probably not. So what's the point? You're not getting Nola back, right? So probably not going to be at the catcher spot.
All right. Hold up. Would you trade Dylan Moore for Austin Nola?
In a heartbeat. In a heart, not even like yes, like yeah.
All right.
Not close.
What has Austin Nola done this year?
Doesn't matter. The answer is yes. And while they're at it, throw in Blake Snell too. He's having a down year again. So
Dylan Moore for Blake Snell. I'm down. I'm very much down for that. Yeah.
You better be. Although I think Blake Snell's a free agent after this year. Maybe it's next year. I can't remember.
I think it's next year.
Yeah. So I mean, watch Blake Snell. By the way, if the Mariners sell and buy, I don't know if the Padres are going to have an extra. I'm assuming the Padres are going to acquire another starting pitcher.
Yeah.
And Blake Snell might be the odd man out. So I don't know. But no, for the Padres, like Dylan Moore, like realistically, maybe you get a reliever for him, or maybe you get like the Padres system is pretty bad right now. It's tapped out more or less. So
yeah,
can you maybe get like a former like top-ish prospect like Reggie Lawson? I don't know if you remember him.
Oh yeah, I remember Reggie Lawson. Yeah,
he's 24. He's going to be 25. He's kind of tapped out in the Padres system. Been a prospect forever, has just never really figured it out despite having good stuff. Yeah. Maybe you can get Reggie Lawson for him. Maybe I don't even know if he's still in the organization, but is Anderson Espinosa still a thing? Yeah, I mean, like anything I can get for Dylan Moore, who might be a major league asset within a year, I'm definitely interested in.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not good. He's just a guy.
All right, but what if he actually starts hitting a little bit like more consistently? Because he has hit a little bit as of late. So if he does that for another month and a half, what does that do for his trade value? Or
late, as in he's been hit like 5 times in the last 15 at bats. Does that count? Really?
I mean,
we're gonna say that's a repeatable skill?
He was making contact with his body at least.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think Dylan Moore has any standalone value. Could you attach him to somebody like Diego Castillo or Eric Swanson and maybe increase your return that way? Yeah, maybe. I refuse to believe that major league teams are that stupid, but then I do remember that the Padres do exist. So there are GMs out there who are legitimately that dumb. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm too blinded by my dislike of Dylan Moore, the baseball player, but I just have a hard time imagining you're going to get anything of.
I'm just saying, man. He's hit 226. He's hit 226, 385, 355 with a 132 WRC plus since the start of June. I'm just saying.
Take out the hit by pitches. Now tell me what his on base percentage is.
Well, unfortunately, Fangraphs doesn't let me do that, so I'm just going to roll with my narrative here.
Ty doesn't want to remove 4 plate appearances because he can't do that.
Where are the hit by pitches?
I think they're probably under the standard page, but
yes, here they are. He has 3 hit by pitches, by the way.
Oh, wow.
And let's see how many hits he has. He has 7. He's 7 for his last 31. 3 hit by pitches.
7 for his last 31, so he's like 286.
226. 226. Yeah.
Ooh.
All right, but like if he continues this for another month and just raises that batting average a little bit slowly but surely, um, maybe you know because I don't know. I
He
feel
might.
like not like other teams don't have the full book on him, right.
They do. They do. Yeah, I just like maybe you can get like an Adam Frazier package for him, which would be pretty good return. So,
That'd be cool.
yeah, but no, it's still
Maybe you actually get the Adam Frazier package. You get Corey
yeah,
Rozier and Ray Kerr.
maybe. I mean, like I don't know, man. It's Dylan Moore. He's not good. I mean, you can tell everything you need to tell about how bad the Mariners' offensive struggles are right now by remembering that Dylan Moore hit fifth like 2 days ago. Your lineup is a dumpster fire.
Yeah, it's we're in a bad spot right now. It's not
But hey,
super fun.
go get Hunter Bishop from the Giants or some weird reliever from go get Austin Shenton back from Tampa. There you go.
Hey, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. But yeah, we're in Spain, S is silent, etc., etc., etc. The Mariners are back in action tonight, and that a good thing? I would like to watch them win a baseball game tonight. That would be neat.
Yeah.
We'll see. We're going to be talking about their upcoming series with the A's in just a moment. But real quick, a reminder, this episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by Built Bar. You know how our friends at Built are always coming out with amazing new flavors? Well, this time Built has truly outdone themselves with their new mud pie flavor. And for the first time ever, Built is introducing the new mud pie flavor in both mud pie bar and mud pie puff. Not sure what mud pie tastes like? Well, if you're a chocolate fan, you better sit down for this. We're talking chocolate mousse, whipped cream, cookies, and cream crumble. Stop drooling. Get to Built.com to order your box of mud pie bars and puffs right now. You won't regret it. And if you're still not convinced, we saved the best for last. It's actually good for you. All Built products are low calories, high protein, and low sugar. And mud pie specifically is packed with 16 grams of protein, and it's only 150 calories with 8 grams of sugar. So go to Built.com and try some for yourself. Use promo code LOCKED15, that's LOCKED15, and get 15% off your order. Again, that's LOCKED15 for 15% off your order at Built.com. So the Mariners have had a lot of success against the A's as of late. Of course, they finally had their long winning streak snapped against them. They lost 2 of 3 in Seattle in their first meeting with this team, but there is, of course, an opportunity here. The A's are 19 games back in the AL West. They are bad. They are actually worse than the Mariners. Yes, believe it or not, there are teams in Major League Baseball that are worse than the Mariners right now. The sky isn't entirely falling. But gotta ask you this. Oh, yeah, it might be a little bit, but I'll ask you this. I'm not gonna ask you, what they need to do against James Kaprielian tonight. We know what they need to do. They need to score runs. That would be, a good start for the Mariners. But what do they need to do in this series as a whole? Do they need to sweep? Is that just what it is? Or are you fine with 2 games?
They definitely need to win at least 2. Preferably the first 2 because they do face Frankie Montas on Wednesday. So
Future Mariner.
Yeah.
Probably not.
We'll see how the next 20 games go or so. So yeah, it's always tough to say you need a sweep, but hey, you know what? When you're 10 games under 500 and you're trending down, those are statements that kind of become true, and you put yourself in a position where that's the case, and that's on you. It's one of those. It's like you wish it didn't have to be, but it kind of is type of scenarios here. You don't necessarily have to sweep, but I think you're going to have to find a 5-game win streak here somewhere in the next 26 games, 25 games. You're going to have to find a 5-game win streak and then win series because, I mean, we really feel confident that this team is going to go 3-3 against the Padres and the Blue Jays the week of the 4th when they have to play them 6 times in 7 days. Call me crazy, but no.
Yeah.
No, I do not. And even if they do go 3-3, that means for our little, self-imposed are they buyers or sellers thing before the deadline or before the All-Star break, that would mean that they needed to go, assuming they go 3-3 there, they need to go 14-4 in the other 18 games. Yeah, they're going to need sweeps somewhere. And this is probably your best shot at it.
Yeah.
I know Montes is very good. You are countering with Robbie Ray that day. And you need to start by winning tonight because James Caprillion has been awful this year. So you got to find a way to win.
Wait, are they going to face their old buddy Cole Irvin?
I don't think he starts tomorrow, but I could be wrong.
No. See, this is what it's been missing this year, man. No Cole Irvin.
Right. By the way, tonight is the first.
No, they got to face Blackburn tomorrow. So even tomorrow is a pretty big one for them. Yeah.
They got to they're rolling it up against the two best Oakland has right now. So, fortunately the Mariners do counter with Kirby and Ray, so they have a shot, but yeah, we saw what Paul Blackburn did to them last time, and honestly, are you confident at all that they're going to score runs off of Caprillion tonight based on what you saw against the Angels? I mean, Caprillion has a 14.7% K percentage right now. Major league average is 22. Okay. He also is walking over 10% of the batters he's faced. Major league average is 8.5. So he doesn't strike guys out. He walks guys. He has a 6.32 ERA, a 5.71 xERA. He does not rank higher than the 25th percentile in any of the contact stats. In fact, he's only above average in one category on StatCast, and that is fastball velocity, where he's 53rd percentile. And
Ooh.
I'm not convinced they can score 2 runs off of the guy.
Yeah.
That's a problem. So
you know what's crazy too? I feel more confident in their ability to score off of Paul Blackburn or Frankie Montes than I do James Caprillion.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I think they're probably going to put like 5 on Montes or something crazy like that.
Probably.
They've done it before, so
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see, but they definitely have to win the series, and it's really hard to imagine them beating Blackburn and Montes back to back. So tonight's, I mean, again, there's no such thing as a must win on June 21st, but pretty close.
I mean, yeah, we're getting to the point now where it's starting to become do or die for the Mariners, and they're gonna need to get this thing kicked off here. Like starting with this road trip, you got to start now. If you're gonna do something about your season, if you're gonna change the face of the season, if you're not going to just fall back into the crowd, you got to start tonight. It's just what it is.
I think honestly, over the next, they get 3 against Oakland. 3 against Oakland, 3 against the Angels, 3 against Baltimore, and then 4 against the A's again. I know we talk about they needed to win 18-12 in their 30. Well, that 4 series stretch right there, that 13 game stretch, I think if they don't go 9-4 there, it's probably done. So.
Yeah. Pretty tall mountain to climb, but hey, that's the hole that you dug yourself into, and so you got to face the consequences of that. So we'll see if they're able to respond in a 2021-esque way tonight. Hopefully they do. That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow Inside the Mariners at Inside Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez, DANE, GNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11 at CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. And thank you again for making us your first listen of the day, just like you do here every day. The first picks of the ultimate NBA mock draft have been made. Search now for Ultimate NBA Mock Draft and get over 50 insiders, the Odyssey sports experts, and the draft experts of Locked On NBA Big Board. The 5-episode Ultimate NBA Mock Draft is underway. Make Ultimate NBA Mock Draft your second listen today. And with that, have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we will see you tomorrow. Peace.